Most people think manifestation is about positive thinking, and it's not. You can visualize all day, repeat affirmations all night, make vision boards every month, but if your subconscious identity says, I'm not worthy, your brain will continue looking for evidence that supports that belief. See, the brain doesn't show us reality objectively, it filters reality through what we already believe is true. So if you've been wondering why you keep attracting the same relationships, the same disappointment, or the same limitations, the problem may not be your goals, it may be your self concept. Let's talk about the signs you don't believe you're worthy and how that belief may be shaping your reality without you even realizing it. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Naya Iman, but you can call me Nye, and this is going to be your space for self-improvement, mindset shifts, and just overall stepping into your best self. And today I have a super interesting video planned for you guys. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, y'all, so today we're talking about the self-concept and shame. Now, if you don't know, the self-concept is a collection of assumptions that you have about yourself, who you are, what you deserve, what's available to you, what people think of you, what's possible for your life. This collection of thoughts is essentially the system through which your reality is being determined. It's like a network of deeply ingrained beliefs and predictions about you and your life. Your brain is constantly making predictions. It's asking, what should I expect? What kind of person am I? What usually happens to me? And then it searches for evidence to prove it, not because it's trying to hurt you, but because it's trying to stay consistent. The brain loves certainty. This is why many people often manifest what feels familiar instead of what they consciously desire. The subconscious mind, which is the feeling part of the brain, controls about 90 to 95% of all your mental activity, including your habits, which is what shapes your reality. So what are the signs that your subconscious mind is creating a reality for you that is based in unworthiness? Well, to answer this question, we must first understand what worthiness is in the first place. According to Google, worthiness is the quality of having adequate merit, value, or character. It defines how suitable or deserving someone or something is for a specific task, reward, or level of respect. Worthiness is not a trait like confidence or arrogance. It is the assumption of what you deserve, whether that be good or bad. You can always measure a person's self-worth by observing what they accept and allow in their life. It doesn't matter if they come off as cocky or arrogant. Those are just traits that a person can use to disguise themselves. The self-concept is not what you say you believe. It's what you consistently tolerate, expect, and assume to be possible for your life. That is what measures your level of worthiness. And your current reality is just a reflection of that worthiness. Now, the opposite of the spectrum would be shame. Shame is defined as a painful, self-conscious emotion arising from the belief that you are inherently flawed, unworthy, or have failed to live up to personal or social standards. You cannot create a higher, more desirable life until you become a vibrational match to that reality. The Bible says, above all things, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. When you have a heavy heart that is burdened with guilt and shame, or doubt and fear, that is the reality that you align yourself with. However, when you release those negative emotions, that's when you make room for abundance and positivity in your life. Okay, y'all, now we're coming in strong with sign number one, that you secretly don't believe you're worthy. And this is going to be needing constant validation. I myself have definitely been guilty of this from time to time, especially in relationships. I feel like it's been easy for me in the past to become very anxiously attached or form codependent tendencies, which is so exhausting and honestly not fair to my partner either. I had to work on that part of myself that needed constant reassurance or felt like I was always in fear of being hurt. And once I learned that I myself wasn't needy, my nervous system just didn't believe I was valuable without outside confirmation, I was able to work myself out of that desperate mindset and energy. And a simple way to think about it is like putting your ideal self into perspective. They aren't waiting to get approved or for permission in order to start living. They're walking in authority of who they are right now. Problem is that most people, myself included at that time, lack self-worth. And when you operate from that low vibrational state, your brain's reward system becomes dependent on external feedback. You're training your brain to ask, am I enough? Instead of assuming that I am enough. Sign number 2. You focus more on what's missing than what's present. Now, if you're naturally a little pessimistic, this one might sting a little bit. I remember being young and learning about manifestation, but I'll never forget the moment that I realized that I was experiencing a negative manifestation of my thoughts. It had to have been sometime in middle school, and I was very sheltered as a child growing up. So I always had this vision in my mind of being young and wild and free and going out and having the best time ever. Like, it was a whole thing. So much so that it began to put a lot of pressure on my experiences to be extraordinary. And I actually experienced a lot of disappointment during that time because of that. It got to the point where I would almost speak negative experiences onto myself before they even happened. Like, watch this person not be able to get her mom's car so we can hang out. Or watch, she gonna text at the last minute and say she can't come. And those things would always come true. I used to call it jinxing myself, not realizing what I was actually doing. Remember, energy follows attention. So when you're the type of person to only notice that one friend that didn't reply or that didn't say happy birthday, the opportunity that didn't work, the money you don't have, you subconsciously attract that into your life. There's a part of the brain called the reticular activating system, and this part of the brain filters through millions of pieces of information every second, and it files this information in order of importance according to your most dominant beliefs. So if you carry the subconscious belief that you're constantly overlooked or unlucky, like I had been speaking over myself, you're more likely to build a reality that is in alignment with that. Your brain works overtime to find things that emphasize and confirm your inner belief system, not because it's true, but because it's familiar. Sign number 3. Success feels uncomfortable. Now, this is a big one for a lot of people, and you probably heard people use the term imposter syndrome. It's like, for some reason, when you finally make the decision to become something greater than what you've been, you psych yourself out of it, because deep down, you doubt the possibility of that reality being something that you could really have. You want the promotion, you want the relationship, you want the attention, but when it arrives, you become anxious, you overthink, you self-sabotage, you pull away. This is all a subconscious process and happens without many of us even realizing it. I've done so many things in my life, y'all. I built an in-home studio once and wrote and produced my own music. I got into rapping, randomly got into drawing, and was surprisingly good at it. So I went and bought like hella supplies, spent hella money on that, then decided that I wanted to go into screen printing. I literally spent thousands on the equipment and setup for that. Like, that was insane. Then completely pivoted and got into cut and sew projects and embroidery, and I spent thousands on sewing machines, embroidery machines, all these different materials, and it was crazy. I did a couple fashion shows. I even got a rapper to wear one of my jackets on stage during a performance. Y'all, this is like no joke. I'm gonna tell the whole story in another video, but yeah, I've done a lot of things. But for some reason, every journey that I embarked on, a little bit into it, I would always find something or some reason to say that it didn't align with me anymore. Even with my identity content, this is something that I really launched in 2024, and I was successful with it. I had views, I had opportunities coming in, and I just stopped. I always found a reason to change direction. And even though I had devoted so much time, effort, and money into these projects that I had been so passionate with at the time, it seems like I could never fully see things through. But this is what I didn't realize back then. You can only hold what matches your identity. If you're an insecure person, you will attract partners that reinforce that belief in yourself. If you deep down believe that money is earned through hard work, then you will always live a hardworking life. You won't align yourself with passive income or a soft life if you're stuck in hustle and grind mode 24/7. There has to be a balance. If you believe that you deserve honest and respectful love, then you will hold the people in your life to that standard. Because remember, you can always measure a person's self-worth by observing what they consistently accept. And their reality is just a reflection of that self-worth. People with a high sense of self-respect get that because that's the reality that they've generated for themselves. So remember, when you're setting these goals and then setting sail to achieve them, there's gonna be pushback. The brain values familiarity way more than happiness. And when you begin stepping into a new reality, that creates prediction errors for the brain's processing centers. The nervous system then flags this change as a threat and works its way backwards to get you back to a familiar state. This is exactly what happened with Peter when Jesus told him to come walk on the water. That was something that Peter had never done before. And when he first stepped out of the boat, he was floating for a little bit. That's the leap of faith. But when he took his eyes off Jesus, when he began to doubt and have fear, that's when he began to sink. The Bible says, in due season, we shall reap if we faint not. You cannot lose your faith. It was my lack of faith and self-worth that had me giving up on the things that I had started, but I just disguised it as pivoting. It was Peter's fear and lack of focus that allowed him to sink after he took the leap of faith. This is why people turn back to the past and return to their own vomit, because it's familiar. Sign number 4, you keep accepting less than you deserve. I once knew a girl who was like your typical it girl. She kept herself put together. She was cute, smart, extremely loyal as a partner, and she had a lot to offer. And my friends and I would be so confused because for someone who seemed to be so fortunate in so many ways, she tended to date way below her league. And it wasn't that we assumed that she was better than her partners at the time. It's just the fact that whoever she was with was not a very good partner to her. So one day, one of my friends just decided like, okay, I'm just gonna ask her like, what's up? Why do you pick the guys that you do? Like, you could do so much better. And what I realized from her response was that she did not see herself the way that we all saw her, which was insane because she was like the full package. But her sense of self, even though it was completely blurred, was what she aligned with. It didn't matter what we all thought of her. She lowered her standards, settled, and tolerated things that hurt her because of whatever unconscious worthiness level she had assigned to herself. This created a cycle in her life that continued to match her with partners who perpetuated that negative experience in her love life. And let this be a lesson to all of us. You don't receive what you want. You receive who you are and what's normal for you. I tell my friends who are a part of unhealthy relationships all the time that until you go within and fix that part of yourself that is attracting these types of connections, it doesn't matter if you're with this person or the next person, you're going to have the same issues. Or until you work through your negative ideas about money, you will continue to create moments in your life that keep you in that familiar space. You'll keep finding toxic partners. You'll keep your income capped at a specific level, and it'll be harder, so much harder to make more money because you don't believe you're worthy. And this current identity that you have doesn't know how to hold those good things. When something exceeds your self-image, you'll often reject it subconsciously. So yeah, be ready for that. Sign number 5, you're addicted to struggle. This one was definitely the hardest pill for me to swallow. And even now, it still feels like a personal attack because it's not obvious. Like, it kind of blindsided me. I didn't realize that when I was constantly switching between all these different missions or life projects, that I was just chasing the feeling of being a beginner, starting from ground zero, being hopeful without real proof of success or failure because it's like, ooh, what's gonna happen, you know? There was something addicting to me about restarting because when you start something, you have to get prepared, and that's exciting. That's the moment backstage before they pull the curtains and the show starts, when it's just you and all the work that you've done in secret, all the rehearsals and perfecting details, strategizing and planning for success, all of the dreaming. That's like chugging up the side of the roller coaster. Then the launch is the tip top, which is super scary, but it's exciting. But for me, when the momentum started building and the success started coming and progress was being made, that was when I lost it. That's the scary part. That's the ride down the roller coaster. It was such a rush for me because I set out to do something that was beyond my current state of identity and what I believed I was worthy of or was actually possible for my life. So when it actually started working and things started happening, I got further and further away from my familiar boundary or my comfort zone, and therefore more and more scared. My subconscious mind was convincing me to pivot because it felt safe, before it was seen. It felt safe before I launched. It felt safe in hiding, which is what I called preparation. And a lot of people are like this. They're addicted to being the person who's always fighting, who's always healing, always fixing, always overcoming. You have to realize that the identity must change before the circumstances change. As a man thinketh, so is he. As within, so without. It starts with the internal shift, and then the reality always follows. When you consistently come into agreement with a certain identity or belief, that identity influences your actions. Those actions create habits that, when performed regularly, create neural pathways in the brain. The more you travel these neural pathways, the more deeply ingrained and a part of your identity they become. Your brain develops efficiency around repeated patterns. So the more you rehearse struggle, unworthiness, or lack, the more natural those emotions and life conditions feel. Okay, y'all know I'm solution oriented. So now that we've talked about all the signs that you secretly don't believe you're worthy, let's talk about how we get ourselves out of that hole. For one, let me tell you what's not gonna work. And I might get some backlash for this, but it's the truth. Y'all, positive affirmations do not always work. And I'll even go so far as to say sometimes they can hurt more than they actually help. Because you gotta think, when you're repeating things over and over, these are things that you wish to speak into existence over your life, right? Which means there's a part of you deep down that is acknowledging the lack of said thing in your current reality. People repeat over and over, I am worthy. But deep down, they don't believe that. And the subconscious mind doesn't respond primarily to words. It's a combination of repetition, emotion, and evidence. New neural pathways are formed this way and strengthened as that new identity is reinforced. The brain changes through neuroplasticity, which means when you teach yourself new ways of thinking, behaving, and going about life, you can literally reshape your brain. So it's not about convincing yourself overnight. It's about creating enough experiences and taking every opportunity to reroute yourself back to what you actually desire, things that support the new reality. So how do we do that? Step number one, stop asking, am I worthy? Worthiness isn't earned, okay? Understand that worthiness is not earned. It is assumed. You don't have to do anything or accomplish a certain goal to be deserving of good things. Abundance is your birthright. And anything less than that is just a sign that something is out of alignment. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Yahweh knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. He intended for you to be right here, right now, in this life, in this time. So walk in authority in knowing that. Worthiness is not earned, it is assumed. The question, am I worthy, in itself just reinforces doubt. So stop doing that. Step two, create identity-based evidence. So instead of affirming, I am worthy, just wake up one day and be that. Like, even if you need to completely delude yourself, whatever you need to do, just act like who you want to be. To fall asleep, we have to first pretend to be asleep. And then without us even trying, it just happens. We slip into oblivion. When you wake up and create new opportunities, or even use present opportunities to choose your new identity, you bring that closer to your real life. And if you don't know where to start, just ask yourself, what would the version of myself who feels worthy do today? What would they do in this situation? How would they feel about this? And then just do that. Eventually, small actions become evidence. Evidence becomes belief. Belief becomes a new identity. And your identity creates your reality. Okay, step number three, normalize receiving. Y'all, this one is so hard for me for some reason. But in order to fully hold the things that are meant for you, you have to get used to receiving. Receive compliments, receive opportunities, receive support. Train your nervous system to receive what is safe. Allow yourself to have nice things, real people, luxury life, healthy love. You deserve it, and God and the universe want you to have these things. You were created with a special purpose and talents ingrained within you. And when you follow those gifts from God, that's when you find the most fulfillment in life. That's where true happiness lies. And last but not least, rehearse your new self in your new life as often as possible. Now, this one is super fun because the brain actually can't distinguish between vivid imaginations and real life experiences. This is why visualization works so well. I like to place my focus on things that I actually want in my life and kind of use that to rewrite my history in a way. It allows me to reclaim power over the identity that I align myself with, and takes a subconscious choice and turns it into a more conscious and intentional decision. Mental rehearsal actually activates some of the same neural circuits that are involved in real experiences. So by rewriting my past experiences and redefining the ways I see the things that happen to me, I'm teaching my brain what to look for and expect in the future. And expectation is what changes perception. Reality is subjective. If you focus on the good, then good is what you get. All in all, the best way to get what you want in life is not scripting or affirmations or visualization. It's embodying the version of yourself who no longer questions their worth. Because once your self-image changes and you start believing you're worthy, your standards change. Then your decisions go shortly after. Then goes your expectations. And eventually your reality has no choice but to match the person that you're becoming. Anyway, check out some of my other videos if you want more neuroscience-backed spiritual tools to help you align with your highest life. Don't forget to subscribe and join this community, and I will see y'all next time. Love you so much. Bye.